Hello and welcome to Chronically Overdressed. I'm Christine, the Glambassador. Hello, lovelies. Today I want to talk about some of the fabulous style details from the 1930s. I'll give you some historical context and share with you some of my favorite source books for figuring out what elements I am looking for when putting a 1930s outfit together. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I hope you're enjoying my content. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you do not miss a video. The 1930s in the United States began with hitting rock bottom. The stock market crash in October of 1929 instigated the Great Depression by wiping out fortunes in an instant and quickly affecting the entire American economy and ultimately the world, resulting in widespread poverty. The gap between the life of an ordinary citizen and the life of the fortunate increased substantially. Despite being an era of economic struggle, the clothing of the 1930s was embarking on an age of revolution. Advancements in clothing production and technology, the lure of Hollywood cinema, and the increased necessity for durable day-wear fashions all helped to create the iconic looks of the 1930s. Despite a 40% decrease in the American family's average income, styles of the day were far from drab and depressing. I think that's simply because times were so hard, people craved to live vicariously through the marvelous fashion seen on the silver screen. They wanted to recreate those styles for themselves using sewing patterns and other do-it-yourself methods of clothing production. Women's fashion softly evolved from that boyish look of the previous decade into the early 30s feminine silhouette. Unlike the 1920s clothing trends, the 30s silhouette embraced the female form. Bias-cut slip dresses and natural waistlines replaced drop-waist dresses. Backless floor-length gowns replaced the trend of the shorter above-the-knee hemline. And for casual wear, mid-length dresses and skirts were adorned with voluminous ruffles and bows and cap and puffed sleeves. Everyday fashion of the 30s was intended to be simple yet tasteful. Although many people had less money than before, they were still very much interested in fashion. They just had to find a way to make it fit into their new, smaller budget. These economic restrictions really paved the way for creativity and innovation and simply making the most of what you had. The use of feed or flour sacks as clothing fabric was already widespread into the 1920s, but during the Great Depression, the popularity increased, as they were seen as a really great source of free material to make various garments. Several educational institutes taught classes on how to use feed sacks, including the Household Science Institute, which produced a monthly newsletter called Out of the Bag, and a series of booklets called Sewing with Cotton Bags, which gave you instructions on how to use feed sacks to make all kinds of items. In the 1930s, it was very common for women to make their own clothing. Most working class women owned a sewing machine, and those who didn't would likely have a dressmaker to make something for them. But cheaper, mass-produced, ready-made clothes were becoming widely available in American department stores. And clothing catalogs such as Sears, Montgomery Ward, and Lane Bryant were useful for women who actually worked outside the home, who didn't always have the time for leisurely shopping trips. These catalogs are some of my favorite sources for discerning the details of 1930s styles. These books of the Sears catalogs are really great for seeing what actual kind of middle-class women would wear in the 1930s. You can see the yokes and the collars have a lot of great detail, a lot of ruffles and bows. Knitwear became very popular in the 30s. These beautiful knit sets are just stunning, and I would love to get my hands on one of them. The hats of the 1930s tended to be a lot lower profile, kind of close to the head, not quite as close as a cloche hat from the 1920s, but way more low profile than some of the larger hats of the 1940s. Oxford shoes, T-straps, and Mary Janes were quite popular in the 30s. It's helpful to know what defines a 1930s silhouette. It can help you when dating an authentic piece that you find at a vintage store, or when you're trying to put something together with modern or reproduction pieces. As a plus-size woman, I was always under the impression that the 1930s silhouette was just beyond my reach. But the more examples I find and the more research that I do into the actual styles of the day, I realize that that is far from the truth. Lane Bryant was making gorgeous styles for larger women in the 1930s, and they were making a killing at it. And now we have some fantastic reproduction companies that are doing really beautiful 1930s styles, and some of them are very size inclusive. One of my favorite reproduction brands that offers beautiful 1930s styles in a size inclusive line is Emmy Designs. That is what I'm wearing today. She does an amazing job with really getting the details right for these 1930s styles. They're very comfortable. The fabrics are beautiful, and she's very size inclusive. She goes up to size 52. It's EU, so I think that's probably a size 2X. So that's my size. I am at the higher end of their sizing, but they are really opening up more size inclusivity with their brand, and they do a fantastic job. Brands like House of Foxy and Vacona Vintage, although not very size inclusive, do amazing, beautiful 1930s styles, and they again are very authentic looking. Their attention to detail is amazing. And even though they're not a reproduction brand, I have found many styles on eShakti that absolutely fit the 1930s silhouette. I hope this gives you a little bit of inspiration on how you can add a few more details and some of those elements, those 1930s elements, into your wardrobe. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you soon. Bye.